Hello everyone, and welcome to the AIM 3.0 Work Comp First Report of Injury How-To video. My name is Edwin Torres, and I'm account manager here at Johns Eastern Company, and I will be showing you how to report a work comp claim utilizing our system. A few things of note. While AIM 3.0 can be used across multiple web browsers, we do prefer Google Chrome and Mozilla Firefox, as these two browsers maximize our system's use. That being said, I will show you how to proceed. I have Google Chrome pulled up here, and I was able to access our homepage by typing in www.jeaim.com. That is jeaim.com, and that brings us to our homepage. You can then use your login credentials to sign into your account. Immediately upon signing in, you're going to be brought to the home page. On the home page, you will see the links actually at the very top for claim entry. We have the work comp first report of injury, the non-work comp claims, and the student or visiting accident reports based on whatever your organization uses. We also have how-to guides to the right of each link, which go step by step and show you how to proceed as well. I'm going to begin this work comp first report of injury by clicking on the link. And the first thing you're going to notice is that it tabs out to a new tab and takes us right into this queue. Now on this queue, you're going to see claims that were recently reported by your organization here. You can see actually the claims that were reported in the past 30 days so that you have the opportunity to peruse that information and verify it. You also have the ability to print any paperwork that was not previously printed, or you can enter a new claim. I'm going to go ahead and click Enter New Claim button to get this process started. First thing that it's going to ask you is for your organization. So once you make that selection, the next item is the Social Security number. Now this is a piece of information that is required by the state of Florida for all work comp claims, which is why we ask for this up front. So I will proceed to enter the Social Security number. When I have that in, I'll click search. Once I've entered that number, it takes me to this screen. Basically, what the system does is it searches for this Social Security number to see if it has any matches within the system. For example, if this employee has multiple claims in our system, then the Social Security number will trigger a lot of these fields to be pre-populated based on the information that can be found on this individual's claims. If this, in fact, does pre-fill for you, I do encourage you to take a moment to verify that the information is correct, just in case this individual has changed their phone number, their address, or any other important piece of information since their last claim. At this point, we're actually receiving notification that there is no record on file for this employee, so we're going to start this claim from scratch. At the very top, we're going to enter the lost date and time, so we will select this field, and you will see a calendar pop up that allows us to input a specific date as well as the time of the accident. If the accident occurred today, then you can actually just leave that as is, because it will automatically have that filled in. At which point we just want to indicate the time that this accident occurred. Once you have that information, click apply, and it will populate this field accordingly. Then we're going to proceed, and really throughout this entire report, we're just going to be completing information on everything that is absolutely required. And everything that is required is denoted by the red asterisk. While there are other pieces of information that are not required, we do encourage everyone to input as much information as possible for the benefit of your adjuster who will be reviewing the claim. So I will go ahead and proceed to fill in the appropriate fields. Really, we just want to ensure that all information provided is as accurate as possible. And once we have that information and we've verified our own information as the author of this report, we will click on Continue. At this point of the process, you now have the ability to save and continue. Really, if something comes up and you have to step aside from your desk, you can click on Save and Continue. It will save this report and actually add it to the queue that we saw initially so that you can come in at a later time and complete it. At this point of the process, if we collapse all the steps, we will see that this is actually 9+ steps to complete the first report of injury. We're simply going to scroll down and file the information that is required. The first of which being is the accident description. So I will type out a brief description. And really the key with the accident description is we encourage everyone to keep it within 1 to 2 sentences. Oftentimes we have received accident descriptions that are very long-winded, multiple paragraphs, and the problem with this is that the space on the first report of injury itself does not allow for all of that information. So it usually cuts off important pieces of information before we even have a chance to see it. So definitely keep it within 1 to 2 sentences, specifying what body parts were affected and what the accident itself was. A description like this would suffice. Once we have that completed in step 2, we'll scroll down to step 3 and confirm that the address information is correct, as well as enter the date of birth of the injured worker. We can make a selection from our calendar to proceed. Once we have that information, we'll go on to step 4. It's going to ask for the contact information of this injured worker. It does require at least 1 phone number, but if you have multiple phone numbers on file for this employee, we do encourage you to input that. That way it gives your adjuster the absolute best chance to communicate with this employee throughout the day. The same goes for the email address. If you do have an email address on file for this employee, please provide that. It does prove beneficial in the case where he or she needs certain documentation that the adjuster can actually email directly to them without any delay. Once we've completed step 4, we'll scroll down to step 5, and it's asking specifics regarding the employee job detail. So the idea behind this is it's going to narrow down specifically which location and which department this employee works in specifically. So we will select from our options here. Company will always be your main organization, and then it's just going to go down all the way to the most specific level of employment. We will complete until we have no more options. And so once we've completed up to here, it's going to ask us for the NCCI occupation code. So we definitely want to make the most appropriate selection here. The NCCI occupation codes are national statistical codes used by the government to track industry trends. So your own organization should be reporting these to the state. Definitely select the option that best applies. Keep in mind, if you are not sure of something, we do have the ability to change, alter, or add information once the claim has been set up in our system. So do not be concerned about this. This can actually be fixed after the fact. I also would not hold up reporting this claim if you're missing pieces of information, especially pieces of information that are not required. The idea behind this is that we do want to get this claim reported right away, and allow for your adjuster to begin work on this investigation, as well as allow for the employee to begin their treatment as soon as possible. Once we have the occupational code placed, we will add the employment status, whether or not this employee is a volunteer, part-timer, full-timer, etc. We'll make that distinction. And we also want the contact information for the direct supervisor of this employee, the individual that this employee reports to on a daily basis. So we will provide that information here. Once we've completed that, we'll scroll down to step 6, where it asks for employee salary detail. If you do have salary information, that's excellent. Please be sure to add that here. But if not, all we need are the days per week that this employee is scheduled to work, as well as the date that this employee was initially employed by your organization. Once we've made those selections, we'll go ahead to step 7. And at this point, it's going to ask for specifics regarding the accident itself. You'll notice that the first thing that this asks is whether or not this is a report-only claim. This is an important distinction within work comp claims. Oftentimes, you might hear from an employee that he or she fell or injured themselves or had an incident on the premises during work hours, but does not necessarily feel that they're injured, does not want to seek medical treatment. At this point, we still encourage you to report this claim just to be sure that your organization is on file as acting on this information, really just to prevent this employee from coming back at a later date and claiming an injury and stating that they made you aware of it and that it was never reported and no treatment was ever offered. So really, we just want to ensure that if there is no medical treatment, but you are aware that an incident occurred during work hours on work premises, that this does get recorded. If it is a report-only claim, you will click yes, and you'll notice that step 7A disappears, as well as 8A. And really what happens is that this will be created as a claim in the system. It will be assigned to an adjuster, but there will be no activity because there was no medical treatment. In the case where this employee comes back at a later date, maybe a few weeks after the fact, and states that they actually did hurt their elbow or their knee, for example, and would like to seek treatment, you can immediately refer them to their adjuster because they will have an adjuster assigned to their claim. And you can go ahead and send them to the urgent care for initial treatment, and there will not be any delay in this individual's treatment whatsoever. Remember that an employee does have 30 days to report a work comp accident per Florida law. If this is a regular claim where this employee was injured and did seek medical treatment, then you will indicate no for the report only. Once we've input that information, we do want to select the reported date, and this is the date that you were made aware by the employee that there was an accident. This could happen the same day of the accident. This can happen a week or two or more after the fact. So please be clear as to what day you were made aware of this accident. And once we've input that, we will select the appropriate loss type. We have 4 options in this step. You can select no physical injury in the case where it is a report-only claim, single specific body part, multiple body parts, or entire body system. This would be an appropriate selection should this employee experience some sort of bloodborne pathogen exposure, maybe an inhalation of a toxic substance, anything that can affect the entire body system as such. I will go ahead and show you multiple body parts. And when we select multiple body parts, it does require us to input at least 2 body parts in order to proceed. So you will notice it gives us our options, and we will enter our first body part, and we will select from the menu here. Then it will ask for the nature of injury. We have an extensive menu here, anything from burns to concussions, contusions, fractures, inflammations, lacerations, etc. Contusion is a very common choice, so we will make that selection. And then it will ask for the cause of injury: absorption, cut, puncture, slip, trip, or falls, struck bys, pushing or pulling. Again, try to make the most appropriate selection. Once we've input that information, we're going to select our second body part, the second nature of injury, and you'll notice that it will automatically pre-populate the cause of injury based on whatever I responded to here. Should this be different for whatever reason, you do have the ability to change that. If you needed to add an additional body part, you can then select Add Body Part and continue the process. Once we have all of our body parts listed, we will then go down to step 7A, the accident detail, and specify what time the employee began his or her shift on that day. Once we've input that, you will notice that it asks whether wages were paid for the date of injury. This will be pre-filled with yes. This will be the case most of the time, so we will leave that as such. Then we get on to step 8 for place of accident. And this is really just going to identify where the accident occurred specifically. You do have the option to type in certain pieces of information. So if you do have a physical address on hand, please be sure to input that information in the system. If this did not happen in a regular workplace, for example, if we have a teacher who was injured on a field trip, maybe there was an accident in the street and you needed to specify the intersection, you would be able to type that information here. Keep in mind, the only thing that's absolutely required to proceed is the state. So for the purposes of our example, I will make that selection and move on. Once we've completed step 8, we're going to go to step 8A, where it asks for physician information, and it's really the information of the treatment facility where this employee was sent following their work comp injury. This will be their initial treatment facility for the work comp claim. Various organizations already have a number of urgent cares and facilities that they direct their employees to immediately. If that is the case for your organization, you will have an option under the medical providers section where you can select the actual provider from a list. And when you make that selection, it will pre-fill that information here. So if you do notice that certain urgent cares or certain facilities are not included in your menu, please feel free to provide that information to us so that we can update this accordingly. Once we have that, we will indicate whether or not this treatment was authorized by yourself as the employer. If you had directed them to go there, for example, we can indicate yes. Once we've completed step 8A, step 8B allows us to enter any information for any witnesses that may make themselves available. If there are no witnesses to record, then we will go down to the 9th and final step, where we do have a text box where we can put in any information that we feel is important for our adjuster to know. Anything at all that was not captured by any of the previous fields that you think is of importance. For example, you might be suspicious or have concerns regarding the employee's story of the accident. If that is the case, you can feel free to type a message to the adjuster just so the adjuster is aware of the circumstances as soon as the claim is created. Once we've input information in the text box, we will verify our own information one last time before clicking on Finish. Once we do so, and we have completed everything that's absolutely required, it will give us the option to print the first report of injury paperwork. We can go ahead and select yes. Now what this will do in most browsers, this will actually trigger your pop-up blocker. Most browsers nowadays do block pop-ups, as can be seen here. If that is the case, please indicate that the pop-up blocker should be off for this website, and you will be able to go to the record that you just completed. You'll see this is ours that was just completed above, and click on Print to access that paperwork. Now, you will have the ability to print out 3 different pieces of paperwork. The first being the first report of injury or illness itself. This is the form that contains all the information that we just completed on our first report of injury. Oftentimes, you can print this out and hand this out to the individual employee, or you can print one out for your own records or save it on your desktop, whatever you'd like. If we scroll down, we will notice that there's also an authorization for release of medical information form that gives the employee the option of listing any medical facilities, any doctors that they have treated with personally in the past 10 years. This goes a long way in helping an adjuster conduct his or her investigation into the file, especially in the cases where there are concerns that an employee is trying to claim a personal injury under work comp. This will go a long way in the investigation. Your employee may actually decide not to complete this information, and that is perfectly fine. But what is absolutely required is that he or she sign the fraud statement at the bottom. This is very important, and this is a piece of information that your adjuster will be following up on, so just be mindful of that. You can actually print this out and hand this to the employee at that time. They also will be receiving a copy of this in the mail via their initial packet. And then the last form is the Healthy Systems Injured Worker First Fill Prescription Form. This is a legit work comp claim. The employee should not have to pay any expenses out of pocket, including any pharmacy prescriptions. So you can hand this to the employee and they can take this to any pharmacy of their choice to fill their script free of charge. If the employee does end up paying out of pocket for their initial fill, please refer them to their adjuster, and the adjuster can provide them reimbursement for that expense. Once we've printed that out, we can X out of that tab and review the queue again. And that completes that first report of injury. A few things that I want to note before I close out. You can see the status for every report right here. Anytime we've just completed a claim, it will indicate a submitted status. Basically, what we've just completed here, we have provided information on this employee and on this specific accident to Johns Eastern Company. This information is now with the Johns Eastern Company clerical department. They will take that information, convert it into a claim in the system, assign a claim number, assign it out to a claim team, and that way work can begin on this investigation right away. The employee can treat, and if you have access to our claim system, you will be able to pull up the claim and see that information. Processed indicates that this has already been created into a claim in the system. There is a claim number, and you can view that at any time. And then you may notice if you've saved a record that it will say in process, indicating that it has not been completed yet, at which point you will see an edit button at the top that you can select to complete this report. And that completes the work comp first report of injury how-to training. Should you have any questions, I always will refer you to our JE Help Desk support. You can reach them via this number here, 1-877-326-5326, extension 1900, or you can click on the email link, which will allow you to email them directly. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have an excellent day.